Lawmatics is one of the most popular legal-specific CRM or customer relationship management tools out there. And for a good reason. It boasts powerful customization and automation options. However, the devil is usually in the details. And to make the proper choice for your firm, you need to be aware of them and understand the full capabilities of the product. In this video, I'm going to go over all the main features of Lawmatics. We'll see how the software looks from the insides, all the different customization and automation options that it has. And as we go along, I will rank Lawmatics over 10 different parameters so that you can see how it compares to other software and make the best choice for your firm. Let's get going. Hey there, my name is Martin Kravchenko and I'm the CTO at Swans, where we help law firm owners grow their practices and get their time back to focus on the things that matter by implementing the right operational and technical systems in their firm. An important disclaimer, we are not sponsored by Lawmatics for this video, and we also don't get any referral commissions from them, so this is purely our opinion from working with the tool and other tools in the industry and providing that feedback to you so you can make the most informed decision. All right, so the first point that we're going to be talking about over here is the user interface, the ease of use, and customization options. Once you open up Lawmatics, you'll be presented with a dashboard just like this. You'll see some stats at a glance. You'll also be able to do any important quick actions, such as creating new matters, contacts, uploading forms, etc. And the navigation in Lawmatics is spread across 4 main categories. It is the CRM, which is probably the tab that we'll be using most often, where we have our matters, the pipeline, contacts, companies, the calendars, the tasks, conflict checking, and the message center. Then we have the marketing tab, where you can set up automations, audiences for our marketing campaigns and the actual campaigns themselves. Insights, which is mainly for analytics. And then the assets, where you define and set up your email templates, custom forms, documents, etc. The screen that you'll probably be spending the most of your time in is this pipeline view over here. Here you'll be able to choose one of your pipelines that you have defined, and in just a second I'll show you how that configuration looks like. And in here, based on the stages you have defined, you'll be able to see the matters that fall under the stages. If you open up a matter, you'll be able to see all of its information. Now, from the get-go, the interface may seem a bit confusing with all the different elements, but actually I think it's quite well designed. Here on the left, you have the most important information about the matter, including their contact information, the staff assigned to the matter, and then any of the relationships that it has, such as spouses, children, CPAs, etc. And also in here you can act on the matter in terms of the most important actions, such as editing its details, sending an email, sending a document using a template, opening and filling out a form for them, and a few other things such as converting it to a hard matter, uploading files, or sending booking forms or intake forms to the client. Over here in the main section of the screen, you'll be able to see which stage it is in the pipeline, what practice area it pertains to, and what is its source, if we have that information. On the activity timeline, you will be able to see all the activity related to that matter. That includes, for example, any notes created by your staff members, any outstanding tasks, any emails received or sent to the client, and we'll talk about email management in the later part of the video, and any updates that were done to the matter. You'll also be able to see any of the open tasks that matter has now outstanding. If you go into the details section, you'll be able to see all the information that we have stored about this matter. And so this includes some basic matter information that comes by default and cannot really be renamed or changed, such as, for example, the matter owner, originating attorney, assigned staff, the case number, but then also custom fields that we have defined. Again, I'll show you in just a second how you exactly can set it up, and also any contact information about the client. Now, the one thing that I don't fully like about this interface over here is that also you can store some custom fields so that they appear on the top. You cannot really define, for example, sections for those fields, and so that means if you're utilizing this feature a lot, potentially you'll have tens of custom fields over here, and it will be quite hard to organize them. I would have liked that they would have implemented custom sections where you can divide then those custom fields and organize them better. Now then we have the notes section, where it's just for internal communication, any outstanding tasks assigned to you or other staff members, and as well any files you have uploaded or the client has shared with you. You can also organize them by folders, and you can define default folders dependent on the practice area if you would wish that. Now, an important side note before we go into all the customization options is that the contacts in Lawmatics must have a unique email, meaning that you cannot really have two contacts with the same email address. This works for most areas, but sometimes that can be an issue. For example, if you have two clients and both of them have the same email address. There are still some workarounds that you can implement, such as, for example, defining whether client 1 and client 2 have the same email as a custom field on the matter, but it's just something to have in account and plan for if you're planning to adopt Lawmatics into your practice. Now, let's go over to the settings tab, and in here, go through all of the customizations options that we have. Now, first of all, this is divided into three main parts: the user settings, general settings of the firm, and then administrative settings that's more for billing, integrations, and kind of admin management. In the user settings, each user can define, obviously, their basic details. In the time and billing section, they'll also be able to set up their default hourly rates for different activities if you have that add-on enabled, and also define their basic email signature. In notifications, there is a whole range of options that you can customize so that you get notified either in-app or by email about different actions or activities performed in the app, either by yourself, right? For example, when a task is assigned to you, or by the firm, right? For example, whenever a new P&C is created. After that, you can also set up mail sync. We'll talk about that in a later part of the video, and also sync your calendar for scheduling. Now, in the general settings, we have some basic details about the firm. We can also enable customer portal for the firm. You can define all the different addresses that you have, the locations where you will have your consults or other type of appointments, a default signature block for email signatures, and default document headers and footers that you'll be able to add to your document templates. In the pipeline section, you'll be able to define one or several pipelines. Each pipeline will have its own name and its own set of stages. For each one of the stages, you can define its name, its color, and also you have the ability to track the time in the stage. I recommend always turning this option on. That way, later on in the reporting and analytics, you can see how fast are matters moving throughout your pipeline. Then we have the practice areas that we can define. In here, you can define as many of them as needed. In case that you have statute of limitations, you can also enable this feature for any one of them. And you can also define default folder groups for these practice areas. So for example, in this case, I have defined that for estate planning and probate practice areas, 2 default folders will be created named admin and assets. After that, we have our customization options in terms of custom fields. This feature is very powerful because it allows you to store essentially any kind of information that you would need to be collected or entered directly by you or by your client or P&C through a form. And in here, you have a lot of different options in terms of different types of fields that you can have: text, text area, Boolean, numbers, money fields, date and time, pick list, multiple select, and also lookups for example, for a contact, right? For a contact, company, or a matter. Now, for each one of them, you can define a visibility as well. Either it will be visible in that collection of all the custom fields on a specific record. It can be starred, as I explained previously, so that it appears at the top of the list, or so that it is hidden altogether. Now, an important setting that I think a lot of people miss over here is this visibility and order edit. Once you have created the field, you can then rearrange their visibility over here, right? So for example, you can move some fields from start to the default section, and also within each section, you can reorder them as well. Again, I would prefer there also to be some custom sections that you can define, but for now, this is the extent to which you can customize these things. Now, you can also define custom fields on a matter level, on a contact level, on a company level, and then also you can define them for any contacts that have been marked as clients, and also dependent on the practice area, right? So for example, you can define some fields that will only appear if the practice area, for example, that you have defined for matter is estate planning. After that, in the matter configuration, we can do a few things. We can customize the relationship types that we have. So in here, we'll be able to define to whom the matter is related to. So that by default, it's obviously connected to the client, but then we can add other parties involved as well, such as, for example, the spouse, former spouses, children, CPAs, etc. For each one of them, we can define whether it is repeatable, meaning that, for example, there can be multiple former spouses that we would want to add, multiple CPAs, multiple children. We can also have the option that if that contact has an email, that any incoming email from them will also get synced to the matter. In sub-statuses, we can define, well, essentially, Lawmatics has three main statuses for each matter: a PNC, potential new client, hired, or lost, right? And under them as well, we can define sub-statuses. So for example, for the lost status, these can be the reasons for why the PNC has been lost, such as cannot afford services, no response, and not a fit. Again, that will help you later on in terms of your analytics and understanding the performance of your firm. We can also enable matter numbering based on essentially any field that we have stored either on the contact or on the matter. And we can either enable for all PNCs or only, for example, the ones that have been hired. In the contact settings, you can define different contact types, such as, client or, third party, if you would wish. Email domain is for email authentication. You can then also define the different appointments or event types that you're going to have. Appointments are for mostly just like one-on-one consultations, for example. Events are more so for webinars or any group events that you organize. For each one of them, you can define confirmations, reminders, and also default durations. We'll talk about that in a later part of the video. In marketing sources, you can define all the different channels, essentially, that your potential new clients come to you through. Again, this is a very powerful feature in terms of then reporting and analytics, which will help you understand the performance of your firm. In here, you can add a new source, and then under each source, you can also add multiple campaigns, right? So for example, we have a Google Ads, and we have multiple campaigns running, then we'll be able to specify where exactly that lead comes from. Not only that, if you have a deployed form, a PNC form on your website, and you're targeting traffic from these campaigns to the form, you can also define the URL parameter or the UTM campaign parameter that has been received from that landing page, and Lawmatics will automatically then assign the correct marketing source to the matter if the person then has submitted the form through the website. For referrals as well, these will be linked to specific contacts in the CRM, so you can exactly track who has been referring your business. Then we have some more options for tracking website visitors, your RSS feed, the task statuses if you want to customize them, the tags that you can apply to matters or to contacts, and finally options as well for payment. Lastly, over here we'll have some admin settings such as billing, integrations, user management, importing and exporting data, and a few other more advanced settings. Now, overall, I think Lawmatics has done a great job at making its interface both easy to use and having the necessary details so that you can operate efficiently. It has some great features such as, for example, in this plus icon over here, you can quickly add matters, add contacts, but you can also then enable a few forms as quick views forms. so that, for example, if you have a new P&C form, any staff member at any point, if they get a call, can easily access that form and fill out the information for the client. I think they have done a great job. The only other concern I would have about navigation is just, I think that this space over here is underutilized. A lot of times the firm staff will be spending in, again, the pipeline, the matters, the contacts, or the task screen. I think it would be great to have those as actually separate options over here, just to prevent a few extra clicks and mouse movements throughout the day, which can add up. So overall, I would say that in terms of UI, ease of use, and customization, it's a solid 4.5 for Lawmatics. Let's now talk about the second point of forms. Collecting information is one of the main activities that any law firm is doing with their P&Cs. So let's see how Lawmatics implements it. We can define custom forms by going into Assets and then Custom Forms over here. Then be able to create a new form, define whether it will be a matter form or a contact form, and fully customize each one of them. Now, you'll be able to deliver, right, or fill out these forms in multiple ways. First of all, internal staff members will be able to fill it for the matters internally, and quite a unique feature that I have seen with Lawmatics that a lot of other CRM software, especially legal specific, doesn't have, is the ability not only to fill out the form once, but actually to fill it out multiple times for the same matter, where all the information that you have previously filled out would have already been pre-filled on the second and third iteration. I will show it in action in just a second. You'll also be able to send this form via email or SMS message to the client, and also you'll be able to post it on your website, integrate it directly onto your website, such as, for example, for a Contact Us form. As soon as the form is submitted, if there isn't already a contact with that email, it will create a new contact and also create a new matter for you. Now, for each form, you'll be able to define a few things. Again, first of all, the form type, either matter or contact, its form name, tags, the form title that we'll have when it is shared. If you want to redirect the users to some other page after the submission, if it is intended for certain internal use, if you want to enable recapture to prevent spam, that is really only mostly useful for when you're publishing it on your website instead of a contact a company, and finally being able to update it by ID. In here, then you'll be able to add any of standard or custom fields that you have defined, as I've previously shown you, such as those standard fields for each matter, any custom fields, practice area custom fields. Any blocks you have defined is essentially kind of a collection of already a set of fields that you have previously defined, and you can just reuse very easily in between the different forms that you are building. Relationship blocks, this is essentially for any relationship types that you have defined, right? So for example, collecting information about the spouse or the children, and a few advanced settings over here, such as file uploads, dividers, instructions, and notes. A very useful option over here as well is this general form only field, which allows you to add a field to the form which is not linked to a custom field, right? So for example, if you're just collecting information and you're not really planning to be using it later on any automations or any document generation, right? It's just really simply as a reference for the specific staff members that are working on the firm, on the case. You are able to add this general form only field. It will be visible on the form submission and on the PDF that is generated after that form is submitted, but you won't really need to link it to a custom field on the matter or on the contact. Now in here as well, there is quite a few options in terms of how you can organize the form itself. You can add multiple fields in a row, right, up to 3. You're also then able to obviously easily drag them around, rearrange them. Importantly as well, we have conditional logic, right? For each field, we can define whether it will be appearing based on the answers to some other questions that we had previously, right? So for example, in this case, I have this estate planning matter subtype question, and it's conditional based on the practice area being estate planning. Now you can also add some more advanced conditions over here. However, this conditional logic at least at the moment, is not very flexible. I know that actually Lawmatics has more advanced conditional logic in some other parts of the program, such as, for example, document generation, which I'll show in just a second. But for now, that hasn't been added to forms, so we still have quite basic logic where we can only really define whether, if we have, for example, a set of 3 or 4 criteria over here, we can either define them all as or all as and, right? So obviously not super flexible. Again, apart from that, we have these relationship blocks which can also be repeating, right? So if you defined that relationship type, for example, children or former spouses, as repeating, the user will be able to add multiple entries inside of the relationship block, right? So you can keep track of all those repeated objects. The one thing that it doesn't have, however, is the ability to define, for example, repeating items that are not contacts, right? So for example, in estate planning, that could be a list of assets a person has. There isn't really a way of collecting that data in a structured manner, such as, for example, what you could have in specialized form software such as Decision Vault or Gavel. So that will be a limitation. Probably for that, you'll just need to use a text field and kind of collect that information in a more free-form manner. Lastly, again, just to show you, this is, for example, general form only fields. For each one of them, you can define its own type, right? Also define if any of the question would be required, and if you want to mark it as hidden and just pre-fill it through, for example, the URL. All right, so let's actually see how we can then send out this form and what is the experience for the user filling it out. Right? If you go to a matter, again, a great thing about Lawmatics that not a lot of CRMs have is that we can easily open a form directly from here. Just click open a form. We'll be able to select, for example, the basic intake form, click open, and very importantly, any information that we already have will be pre-filled, right? So as you can see over here, we already have our first name and last name pre-filled. The practice area already have some information about the children and the spouse, and we just need to fill then the other fields, right? So in this case, for example, let's select trust over here, and for example, type of billing flat fee. As you can see, I had some conditional logic set up over there. So as soon as I selected flat fee, I got another question. If I would have selected, for example, hourly, that question wouldn't have appeared, right? Let's add some information over here. And let's, for example, add another child over here. Just like this. Now, the great thing is that the form is as well automatically saved until it is submitted. So if for some reason, either yourself internally or the client when they're filling it out, mistakenly close it down, if you then reopen it, all that information will still be there that we have filled out, such as you can see over here, trust. And this, the only exception would be those relationship fields, which will need to be filled out again. All right, so let's submit it. All right, the response has been successfully submitted. If we now refresh our page over here, we'll be able to see that, for example, the new child has been added over here. In the details section, we can now see that the information as well has been filled out. And over here, flat fee initial payment 5,000. And so now, again, if we open up the form, all that information would already be pre-filled as it is already saved on the matter. Now, apart from that, you'll also see in the activity timeline that a new file has been uploaded for the PDF of this form submission. And also we can see a custom form field action over here, and we can see all of its values as well directly in the software. If we go to our file section, we'll be able to see it here in PDF format. So let's just preview. And just like this as well, we have all the information about the form. For any of those general form only fields, again, they'll only be visible over here. They won't actually get saved to the details section of the matter. Now, apart from internal users being able to fill it out, again, we can send it out to the client for them to fill it. In this case, what we can do is we can just click share form. We'll be able to select a custom form. For each one of the forms, we can also define a default email template that we can use then to when we are sending that email out, or we can just type it out over here and do so manually, right? We can set it via email. We can share it via portal if you have enabled that option. And we can also simply copy this link, right? And when the user opens it up, it will look something very similar to what we have already seen before. So to sum up this point, I feel like that the form feature in Lawmatics is quite strong, especially considered to some other software in the market. The main limitations that I'm seeing is, again, the lack of the advanced conditional logic, which hopefully is coming soon, and also no ability to set this repeating items such as assets for to collect them in a more structured manner. So in this case, I would give it a solid 4 out of 5. Now moving on to the next point, we have collected the information from the client. Now let's actually schedule an appointment with them, right? That could be an initial consult, it could be a follow-up meeting, maybe first PNC phone call. Let's see how we can do it in Lawmatics. The first thing that we'll need to do in order to set it up is we'll need to go into our firm settings and define the locations where we'll be able to have these appointments, right? So that could be, for example, your office, could be a phone call, Zoom meeting, etc. After that, if we go into appointment/events, we'll be able to define different appointment types, right? So one of them, for example, could be initial consultation. For each one of them, we'll be able to define its duration in minutes, and also then we'll be able to customize the availability for each one of these appointment types or events. Let's see how we can do that. That is defined on a user-by-user basis. Once they have connected their calendar, which can be either the Outlook calendar or a Google Calendar, in their personal settings over here, they'll be able to, first of all, choose to which calendar they want to sync their appointments to, and also where the calendar should be checking for conflicts, right? So if you have multiple calendars under your account, you'll be able to easily then see availability across all of them. We can then define our default working hours, if we want one-way or two-way sync, lunch hours, time before the first available booking slot, any buffer times in between the appointments, the amount of time the appointments can be booked into the future, start intervals, and finally any specific appointments type availability, right? So all of these settings would be kind of default for a user, but then we can also define a custom availability for each one of the appointment types that we could define under our account, right? So for example, in this case, I could define that my availability for the initial consultation is from Monday to Wednesday, 9 to 5. We are limiting the number of bookings to 3 per day. And we are also setting up the rolling period to be 30 days into the future, right? So meaning the appointments can only be booked 30 days into the future. Now, as soon as any then appointments are created in Lawmatics, they will get synced to your Google or Outlook calendar. Now, apart from that, what we can also do is we can set up appointment confirmations, i.e. emails that will be sent to the PNC or the client when an appointment is booked. Default as well appointment reminders, where we'll be able to define the text of the email. We can also set it additionally as an SMS as well to them, if you had that feature enabled on your account. And also for which appointment times, practice areas, and when that reminder should be sent. Now, how do we actually then book these appointments? Similarly to the forms features that we talked about previously, we have multiple options. The first one is that you can actually have a generic link that you can, for example, link to a button on your website for scheduling the first phone call with your firm, right? If you want to do that, then you would configure this from this appointments type screen over here, click share. You'll be able to select the appointment hosts, right? If you'd select multiple people over here, it will then check that all of those people are actually available at that particular time slot. The locations, which should be available to the client. If you have an integrated Zoom, you can also automatically create a Zoom meeting as well through the native integration, if you have connected it. And then it can also require, for example, the phone number or the address of the client, apart from their first name, last name, and email. And so what you'll get is a link just like this. Again, you'll then be able to place it on your website. And when a new PNC is directed to that link, they will be able to choose the available slot. In this case, again, we have defined it from Monday to Wednesday, so we can see, right, that only these days are available. confirm the time, put in their information, and then if you have selected multiple locations, actually select if they want to, for example, have it in office or by phone call. Now, the one big limitation of this that I'm seeing, especially for larger firms, is that there's no round robin functionality, right? So for example, if you have multiple people in intake, right, and you want to distribute the new consults in between all of them, there isn't really an option to do that in here. This link that I've just shown really is configured for a specific host, right? So you cannot have a round robin functionality such as what, for example, you can have in Calendly. So for larger firms, I think this feature may fall short. Now, for smaller use cases, if you just have one intake person, you want to put this link on the website, that works perfectly fine. Now, apart from that, what we can also do is we can either book this appointment internally, or we can send it to a specific matter, right? What we'll need to do there is go into Assets, Booking Forms, which work very similarly to normal forms, and then we can link it to a specific event type when we are creating it, and also in here add any of the fields that we would want, right? Similar to what we have done previously with the standard form functionality. Once we have done this, we'll be able to go to our matter and then click over here, Open Booking Form, select our booking form, click Open. Again, any information that we've already filled out about that client will be pre-filled. Select the time, fill out any necessary information, and by the way, over here, confirm the location if you have actually multiple locations available. Fill out all the information, click Next, click Confirm, and that will be added to the matter. Now, once I refresh the screen over here, as you can see, we have a new appointment scheduled 2 weeks from now, right? And we have all the information that we have submitted about it over here. Again, that will be then automatically as well linked or synced to the Google or Outlook calendar. And finally, the last option is actually sharing this booking form to the client themselves for them to book it individually. In here, we'll need to select the appointment. We can then share it as a link, send it via email. Again, we can define an email template if we would want that, and also share by portal if you have that option enabled. Overall, I would say that scheduling gets a solid 4.5 in this case. Quite a lot of features for defining how you want different locations, the different functionality in terms of buffer times, schedules, etc. Again, the main big drawback, especially for larger firms, is the lack of round robin, which other more specific solutions such as Calendly do provide. Now we have collected some information from the client, we have scheduled some appointments. Let's now actually generate, for example, a retainer agreement or any other kind of document for them. Let's see how Lawmatics handles document generation and e-signatures. Now, to access the settings, you'll need to go into Assets and then Documents. Here at the top, you'll see all your document templates that you have created, and then below, actually, all the documents that have already been sent out for signature and their status. Now, when you're creating new documents, you'll be able to choose from a few options. Rather, you can start fresh and build the document from scratch in the Lawmatics interface. You can upload a PDF and add the merge fields to it, or you can upload a docx which already contains those merge fields. I won't go too much into detail in there. There's a specific help article that explains those steps. So in this case, I'll just talk mostly about the start fresh option, right? For each for each document template that you set up, there will be similar to, for example, to the forms. You'll be able to define whether it's a matter or a contact type. You'll also be able to actually filter them out by practice areas and also add any tags. Now, if you want to enable e-signature settings on your documents, you'll be able to add any signers that you may need over here. So for example, this can be a firm signer or one client, multiple clients, as many really as you need. Apart from that, as I've shown previously, you can define default headers and footers for your documents. So if you have defined those, you can add them to the documents over here and also configure page numbering. And finally, you can then add the text fields, which is essentially the main contents of the document, line separators, and page breaks as needed. Now, how does the editor work, right? It's essentially divided into this text fields. Each text field can be edited, and in here you can obviously have like all the traditional formatting options that you may expect, but then you can also add any merge fields that you have in the CRM, right? This could be either contact fields, it could be fields from appointments, fields from the matter, any general fields such as the firm name, the firm address, company fields if it links to a company, any relationship fields such as the name of the spouse, children, etc. The one limitation here is that, for example, for repeating relationships, let me just, for example, file child, right? For example, for children, right, you wouldn't be able to create kind of a repeating section that will contain all the names of the children, right? You only need to specify it by one, so child 1, child 2, child 3. Not the most flexible experience as you may expect from dedicated document generation tools such as, for example, Gabble or Documentero. And finally, if you could define this document for e-signature over here and added a few signer roles, you'll also be able to add some signature fields such as the actual signature, any text, checkboxes or dates that they need to fill out. Now, once you have done editing the actual text, you just click over here, and then you can also add a few conditional logic to each one of these fields, right? So for example, if you scroll down, I have defined two legal fees sections over here. One says hourly rate and another has a flat fee with the actual flat fee initial payment field being pulled from the matter. In this case, what we can do is we can define conditional logic, which we can also see over here, and say, for example, if the type of billing of the matter is equal to hourly, then displays this section, and if it is flat fee, then displays this section. Now, in terms of document generation, actually we do have already access to the advanced filter logic, meaning that if we have multiple criteria over here, we can have a more complex structure with multiple and ors at the same time, or we can use the simple filters over here for more granular control. And then, for example, here I have defined the signer fields, right, for the client signer and for the firm signer as defined over here. An important limitation that we have over here that needs to be discussed is that we cannot have conditional logic for any fields or blocks that have signatures, right? So for example, if you have an engagement letter template and sometimes you use it for matters with just one client and sometimes with two clients, you won't be able to set it up in a single document in Lawmatics. You'll need to set up actually two separate documents, one that will have one signer and another one that will have two signers. So something to have in mind. Related to that, once we have defined the document, we can define a few email templates for when we first send it out and also for any reminders that we want to have on the document. If we click these three dots over here, we'll be able to define the email template that goes out, which will contain the document link for the signature. And then in e-sign reminders over here, we'll be able to specify the automatic reminder set that we want for the document. In here, we'll be able to define, obviously, the text. We can also send it as both email and SMS if you have that option. And also we can define when do we want to deliver this reminder. That can be based either after the document is sent or before the document deadline, if you have defined it on a specific document. And finally, we can also define when to stop sending reminders. So this is very useful if the status is now changed to hired, then we obviously want to stop then those reminders being sent out, or obviously until the document is actually signed. You can define as many as you want in here for each one of the documents. Again, the thing that I was mentioning previously about one or two signers, the thing is, if you now need to create multiple, essentially variations for each document, for one signer or two signer, you'll also need to separately then define those email templates and reminders on each one of those documents, which really is it's a bit of a pain when you first set it up, but once you're actually using it, doesn't really matter. So how do we then send out the documents that we have defined? If we go to the matter, click send document over here, select the template, we're able to either define it either like without signers, just as docgen, right? Or with signers for e-signature. We can define who is requesting it from the firm. We can also define the deadline of that particular document, who will be responsible for the firm signature, and then you can define all of those other signers that you've defined, such as, for example, client 1, client 2, any other parties that you have defined as signers on the document. In here, you'll be able to see the preview of the documents with the sections already filled out, right? Disregard the format, and I haven't spent too much time on it in here. And as you can see, for example, in this case, we have this matters of flat fee, right? So the flat fee option has been included. The option for the hourly has been excluded because we have set up the conditional logic, right? If we want, we can also edit it before we send, as long as you have defined it as kind of an internal Lawmatics template, you can do that. And once it's all good to go, just click send. It will send the documents. It will appear in here after it has sent as an activity timeline. There we go, email sent, please sign the engagement agreement. And we also have this e-signature sent over here. We can see the current signature count, its current status, we have the signature link. If we go to our document section, we'll also be able to see it in here as in progress. As you can see, sent, right? And then we can see all the signers. If it expires after the deadline, we can actually resend it very easily from here, can extend its deadline. And let's now actually look how the client would see that email. The client gets an email like this. They can click then on the link, review the document, accept all the terms, and obviously sign either by typing or by drawing a signature and submit the document. Now, as soon as it is done, obviously in here, in Lawmatics, that status will get updated and it'll go to the next site or after that. Now, for any firm signers, depending on the notification settings that you have configured, you'd also be getting notifications just like this with the status updates on each stage of the process. And if you need to sign, you'll get an email like this with an internal link to sign the document as well and complete all the signatures. Now, in terms of the actual rating for this feature, I believe that it is quite well developed. Obviously, the customizations, options, and the flexibility that you have in terms of formatting, and also this more advanced conditional logic for the different signer fields, for example, is not present, as you could expect from some other more advanced tools. And also, you do need to set up those separate email templates for each one of the documents, which can be a bit of a pain. But overall, I feel the feature is quite strong, and I'll actually give it a 4 out of 5 in this case. Now let's talk about the next feature of communications. How do we communicate with our clients? What options do we have? Let's kick things off by discussing email integration. What you may expect from a lot of legal specific programs is that you need to manually assign any emails that you receive in your inbox to a specific matter, which adds this additional administrative step of matching up the emails that you receive with the matters that you have in the CRM. Lawmatics, as a true CRM, actually utilizes a different technology called IMAP, which means that it continuously syncs your email and automatically assigns all the emails that you receive from a specific email address to that contact and to the matters related to that contact, right? So as soon as, for example, I have defined this email over here, hello@martinkrafchenko.com. As soon as I either send an email from my inbox or from obviously CRM, it is logged in here. And as soon as I receive an email from the client, it will automatically pop up in here on the timeline over here, right? So for example, I sent an email, our client over here, thank you for contacting us. As you can see in the thread, they have responded. I'll be back in touch shortly with all the documents. That has been automatically synced to the matter. I didn't have to do anything extra in this regard. I think that's a great feature, and I think more legal CRMs need to adopt this technology rather than having to manually log emails. That's a big time saver. Now, apart from that, you also have SMS texting capabilities. As long as that is enabled on your account, you can either then send a manual text. You can obviously have as well reminders for forms or e-signatures as well, as we have seen before. to be sent as text, and you can also actually send automatic text as well via automation. We'll talk about that in a later part of the video. So SMS is covered as well. Apart from that, we also have the portal, right? So what you can do is you can invite the client to the portal. Again, that can either be done manually or through an automation. What they will receive as an email just like this, where they can accept the invitation. And then when they open up a portal, they'll see a web application just like this. They'll see any tasks assigned to them that you have decided to share with a specific portal user, any upcoming events that they have with your firm, any pending signature documents, file requests that you have asked them to upload, and any forms that they need to complete. So this is, well, quite full-featured. If you prefer to use a portal, we have that. They don't have it like a separate mobile app that the person needs to download. It is all done via a web application, and obviously as well can be customized to, with the logo of your firm, the name of your firm, etc. And then one last feature in terms of communications that I really believe sets Lawmatics apart and gives it the potential to replace other tools that you may be using in your marketing suite, like, for example, MailChimp, is marketing campaigns. What you can do is, if you go into this marketing section over here, you can define audiences, which essentially is a collection of contacts or matters that you have under your account, which you can then filter out, right? So for example, in here I have defined all PNCs. I have defined a filter that would only include the matters in here if their status is equal to PNC. You can add as well more advanced filter logic over here as you would wish based on any information, custom fields or standard fields that you have in your CRM. You can also filter it out by a specific date range. And then once you have set up the audience, you can then add a campaign to it. So for example, we can add a campaign over here. We can call it, for example, I don't know, Christmas sale, right? We can define the audience, let's say all PNCs. We can link it to a custom email that we have created previously in the email template editor. We can choose from whom that campaign will be sent if we want any attachments. And finally, how do we want to run the campaign, right? Whether we want to run it, for example, just once on a specific date on manual activation. If we want it to be a repeating campaign over weeks, months, yearly, etc. Or whether we want it to be date-based, based on specific date field of the matter, right? So for example, on the birth date, right, we can have it automatically send out, happy birthday wishes, right, to all of your clients or all of your PNCs. So really a full-featured email marketing campaign builder that you can then replace other programs that you are using, such as, for example, MailChimp. In terms of the actual design of the emails, all of this can be done over here in the email section. Any templates that you define over here will then be able to be used either in, to be sent manually through the matter screen, in marketing campaigns, or actually in any of your automations. How this is divided can be a bit confusing, but essentially we have email templates, let's say, right? So it's kind of like the generic templates that you can then create specific emails from, and then the actual email template that you'll be able to use in the day-to-day, right, to be sent again from the matter, in marketing campaigns, etc., etc., etc. Each one of the emails that you define can be linked either, again, to a matter or to a contact. And then you have the option either to create a plain text email, which has the additional benefit of when you actually send it out, if you want to send it out manually, you'll be able to edit it before actually sending it out. Or you can create an HTML template. The HTML template will be a bit more, let's say, beautiful, right? It will be a bit more well formatted. Looks something like this. You have a full, essentially, template builder as you would expect from any other program, where you'll be able to add images, different columns, different kind of links to the email. As you can see, you have all of these different settings over here. And in the case of plain text emails, it's exactly what it says. It's just plain text, subject, and then the actual email. Obviously, in all of them, you can also use all of the merge fields that you have stored in the CRM as you could, for example, in the document generation. I feel like communication is really an area where Lawmatics shines. It has all of the features that you may expect in terms of email, SMS, the portal, but also very powerful then marketing campaign builder that you can replace some other tools with. So for communications, gets 5 out of 5. Let's now talk about some of the other features that Lawmatics has, and here I have bundled features like conflict check-in, billing and timekeeping, and also online payments, event management, any other features that we can expect from Lawmatics. Let's go step by step. First of all, let's look at conflict check-in. And I feel like really Lawmatics has one of the more robust conflict check-in solution that I've seen, especially because it can be automated, unlike a lot of other software on the market. And so what you can do over here is, if you go into CRM, conflict check-in, you'll be able to run either a manual conflict check, or you can actually trigger it from an automation. After the conflict check runs, it will check for the names of the contacts, either by an exact match or by names containing that query, across all of the information in the CRM. And that includes names of other contacts, names of matters, notes, any documents as well, actually, that have been uploaded. So it's really a full search of all the data that you have in your CRM, so you can be sure that you are not entering in any bad territory before accepting new clients. And if it doesn't find a match, you can either then auto-approve it or have it configured to approve the check manually. Or obviously, if a conflict has been found, the conflicts that have been identified will appear over here, and then you can, for example, then deny it and drop the matter. Again, the great thing about this is it can be automated. I'll show that in the next section when talking about automation. Another great feature is obviously task management. So in tasks, again, this can either be created manually or automatically based on certain events happening in the system. For each one of the tasks, you can define quite a few parameters, including the description, obviously the name. You can have comments on each one of the tasks if you're collaborating on them. Its statuses, which can also be customized, as I have shown at the beginning of the video. Its priority, its due date, who it is assigned to, what matters it is associated with, any tags, if it is shared via the portal for the client to complete, if it is set to recur, right, on a particular timeline, for example, every day, every year, every month, etc., and any files as well over here. A great thing as well that some other CRMs and case management systems don't have is the ability to have subtasks, right? For each one of these tasks, you can also define a list of subtasks for you to tick through as you go along. Now, these tasks will be visible, obviously, from the matter screen. So let's open up the matter. Right, in here you'll be able to see all your tasks at a glance, right, and get access to them. Or also you can then go into your CRM tasks and over here see either all your tasks, those assigned to other team members, and also filter them out by either incomplete, complete, the date range, etc. Now, apart from these features, you also have time, expense tracking, and also invoicing and billing in Lawmatics that you can add as an add-on to your subscription. So really, you could use Lawmatics as both your CRM and your case management system, even so obviously the tool is primarily designed for customer relationship management. Now, in terms of time tracking, all the things that you could expect, you can start multiple timers over here. You can define it to which matter it pertains to, what activity type it is, and then based on that, create the time entries with the hourly rates that you can define under your account on that specific matter. Now, you don't have automated time tracking, such as, for example, what you could expect from a program like Smokeball, where it will track the time for you even if you forget to start the timer. But all the normal traditional tracking features that you would expect are present in Lawmatics. Now, after that, you'll have a separate tab called Billing in your matter. In here, you'll see all your time entries, if it has been invoiced or not, any invoices that you've created, any payment activity, and also the ability to track your trust account, right? The invoices Also have a separate invoices tab to track all of the different invoices that you have in your firm. Reminders for them as well, the ability to accept payments for them, either online or manually. And also the ability to sync it with QuickBooks using the native Lawmatics QuickBooks integration. Now, apart from that, you can also manage trust funds and your IOTA account on Lawmatics. You can see, for example, here, you can see that here you can perform multiple operations with your trust, right? First of all, you see the balance. You can set up a minimal trust balance alert. You can request funds from the client, do deposit withdrawals, etc., whatever you would need for your trust accounting needs. And then finally, as well, you would be able to set up online payments for these invoices using LM Pay, their own kind of internal payment system, which will allow you to take payments for your invoices and actually also add payments to your appointment bookings, right? So for example, if you have a consultation fee for the initial consultation, right, you'll then be able to add an LM Pay gateway module or field to appointment booking page, and also then receive payment for that as soon as the appointment is booked on your website, or whenever you actually send it manually to the user, or actually to key in, obviously, their information of their credit card over the phone. There are a few more features on the time and billing section that I don't really have time to go into in this video. There is an amazing help article on the Lawmatics website for time and billing section. You can see all of these over here and really understand if it would fit your firm's needs. Considering the advanced conflict checking functionality, task management functionality with the ability to have subtasks, recurrent tasks, and also collaboration over the portal, plus all of the time and billing features, even so Lawmatics markets itself as primarily CRM, it does have the ability to really fully support your firm's operations. And so in this case, for the other features, it also gets a nice 5 out of 5. Now, moving on to the next point, automation is where Lawmatics truly shines as compared to its competition on the market. It has a very flexible automation system that allows you to conduct pretty much any action that you could do manually in the system, and also a very flexible trigger system. So to get to the automation screen, we'll need to go into marketing and then automations over here. And when you create a new automation, you'll be able to choose from different types of triggers. So one would be a normal automation, such as, for example, when a task is created, when the matter starts matching a specific condition. Another option would be appointment-based, so when, for example, a new appointment is booked. And lastly, a date-field automation, so based on a particular date, could be, for example, statute of limitation or the trial date, to trigger the automation based on that. Let's say 30 days before, 30 days after, or whatever would be most convenient. And here, as usual, you'll be able to select either a matter-based or contact-based automation, and for matters as well, to be able to choose matters with which statuses will trigger this automation. So would those be only the ones that are in P&C stage? Do you also want to trigger this for hired matters or also lost matters? Let's create a new one over here and a normal automation over here, and I'll show you all the different as well entry conditions and actions that you can set up and customize. So first of all, over here on the top, you'll notice a few settings. Here, you'll be able to choose if you want to skip those matters that have a potential conflict with them. Then also, again, change up the eligible statuses, put it in text, and then finally activate the automation. In terms of the entry conditions, here you'll be able to define the different events that would trigger this automation. It could be one, or actually it can be several of them. The ones that we have over here would be, for example, matching all the matters with status B and C as soon as they become a potential new client, when they registered for an event, when they have some kind of activity on an email, i.e. they opened or clicked a specific email, when they filled out a specific form, when files were requested, when they signed a specific document, when an appointment was created, cancelled, or was a no-show, when an invoice was paid, when a task was created or completed, when a conflict check was either approved, denied, or put the status undecided, and finally match on specific fields. So as soon as a matter matches specific criteria, it would enter this automation and would stay there until, depending on the exit conditions, it would stay there in perpetuity. Here as well, we can use advanced filter logic, which is a great thing, right? So for example, let's for now just use the most simple option, match all matters with status P and C. After that, we'll be able to define all the different actions for the automation. And we can add as many of them as you would need, really. We have quite a few options over here. As I said, pretty much almost everything that you could do manually. Send in a specific email, create an appointment, requesting an appointment from the client using a booking form, add in a specific task to a case, add in a delay, be that a short 15-minute delay or actually several days of a delay. Then if-else conditional logic, where you can branch out then automation dependent on specific criteria and have different paths of execution. Send in a specific form, send in a specific document, requesting a signature of a document, requesting files, changing certain attributes or fields on the matter, converting the matter, inviting the client to the portal or other contacts on the case, running a conflict check. As I was explained previously, you can automate conflict checking, so that's how you would do it, or creating a folder on the matter. Now, an important thing, whenever a matter is converted, that will also automatically trigger any case management tool integrations that you have set up. So for example, if you're using Clio Manage for your case management, the Lawmatics for your CRM, as soon as the matter is converted, it will then also automatically sync to Clio Manage and create a matter there, passing as well any of the custom fields and mappings that you have defined in the integration settings. And in here, for each one of the actions, you obviously have quite a few as well different options and settings. For example, for sending out an email, you would choose a specific template. You would see who you want to send this email to, either the main matter contact or actually one of the other relationships on the matter. If you want to add anybody in CC, who you want to send it from, any attachments you want to include, and also as well, quite importantly, delivery windows, right? So this is very useful to make sure that you only send out emails and communications to clients in specific time slots, right? You don't send anything outside of working hours. That is extremely helpful over here. Now, another note is if SMS is enabled on your account, you'll also be able to send automatic text messages just as you can emails over here as well. Once you have defined your actions, you can also add exit conditions. This looks very similar to entry conditions, but will simply dictate to the automation to stop execution for a specific matter if these conditions are met. This is especially useful for automations with a time delay. So for example, imagine you have an email drip campaign to PNCs that you had a consultation with, but they still, for example, haven't gone to the next step and provided, let's say, the intake form info. In this case, you could have an email drip campaign that you have defined in the automation over here. But as soon as they change the stage or to, for example, intake form field, or they actually fill out a specific form, you can remove them from this automation to make sure that they don't receive any more emails. Again, very, very useful. It will also allow you to potentially unenroll and re-enroll matters into the same automation multiple times. Now, in terms of how complex these workflows can be, I'm showing here an example from actually one of our clients that we have designed for them. As you can see, they can get quite complex with a lot of different conditional logic and branching. This in particular, for example, accounts for the different types of variation of engagement letters that an estate planning firm is sending out. So again, they can get quite complex. Probably only two drawbacks that I see from automations in Lawmatics is one, in terms of conditional logic with if-else branches, you are only able to define either a true or false branch, right? So for example, you can say, hey, is the practice area estate planning? Yes, no, right? The issue is that, for example, if you want to use the same automation for more than two practice areas, let's say estate planning, probate, and then bankruptcy, right? In those cases, you'll need to define first an if-else, let's say for estate planning, then if-else for bankruptcy, and then under that an if-else for probate. So the branching logic can get quite complicated, and there is also not an easy way to kind of copy a branch and move it to another place. So in terms of developing complex workflows, it can get a bit daunting. But honestly, compared to the options of automations of other vendors, legal CRMs in the market, this is extremely, extremely good. The only other concern that I would have is that you cannot trigger webhooks from automations, which I think would be an amazing feature, but that again, more so for more advanced automation users and developers. Overall, I would say that, again, compared to other options on the legal CRM and case management market, Lawmatics really shines in terms of its automation capabilities. There is a lot of different options that you can build out if you know what you're doing. So really here I'm inclined to give a 5 out of 5 ranking. Let's now move on to analytics and reporting. Once we have all the data, how do we actually see how well our firm is performing? And for that, Lawmatics has its own actually section over here called Insights. There are 3 tabs over here: Analytics, Reporting, and Tracker. At the moment, we are now in the Analytics one over here. And what we see here is essentially the most important KPIs for the firm. Most of this data will be empty as a demo account, but you can see what those trackers are, right? So here, for example, you can be tracking, depending on the time frame that you choose over here, a number of new leads that you're getting, new clients, the conversion rates, total value, revenue, the spend that you have for acquiring these leads. After that, your goals in terms of new leads and new clients. You can define the goals over here, but just by clicking this, you can set a specific number, and based on that, it will show you how well you're doing according to that goal. After that, you have some source stat. You can either see it by source or by practice area over here to see how many you have hired, how many you have PNCs, how many you have lost, and also the same for conversion rates. After that, you have more meta volume over time. You can see that based on matters or clients, i.e., or contacts that have actually hired you, based again on a specific time range. Your appointment stats, right? You can select a specific appointment and see how many were booked, how many were showed up, and what conversion do you have from the ones that actually showed up. Then you have statistics for each one of the sources, marketing sources that you have defined, and that's again why it's so useful to set them up properly. You can also then, if you set up campaigns under each source, you can see the breakdown by each specific campaign, right? So again, you can see the number of new leads that you're getting from that source, new clients that you acquired, conversion rate, the value, revenue, total spend, and then cost per lead and cost per client. And if you define the campaigns, you can also see the breakdown both for the general source in general and for the specific campaigns that you have defined under it. Again, very useful info over here. My biggest issue with this dashboard really is the fact that it's pretty much cannot be customized. The only thing you can do is you can hide certain elements over here and you can change the goals over here. But apart from that, this dashboard doesn't really offer any more customization or any custom charts or graphing capabilities, such as what we can potentially expect from other CRMs in the market. Then Lawmatics also offers some basic reporting capabilities. If you go into reporting over here, you can create a new report, and then potentially what you're doing is you're selecting the columns that you want to display for a specific record, be that, for example, a matter or a contact, and then have certain filters, right, to filter those records by. Additionally, you can also then select a date range based on a specific field, such as when they were created, let's say this month's all time, or another metric. You can also use advanced filter logic over here, so that's great. Once the report has been saved, you can see it at any point in here, and you can also export it in Excel or CSV format. What you can then also do is you can schedule this report. So if you click here, set up subscription, you can choose to whom you want to send that report, when would be the start date, and then on what frequency do you want it to be sent. You can also, in the same report, do so for multiple parties. You can add multiple subscriptions in here with different schedules, which is obviously a very useful feature. What I would say that is for the reporting feature, it does give you kind of the 80-20. You can set up some basic reporting. You can set up schedules of it being sent out, or subscriptions, but it doesn't really go above and beyond. Again, you can do more advanced, data combination, joining, for example, different tables from the CRM, or, for example, grouping data as you could in some other programs. For example, FileVine does offer quite more robust reporting capabilities. Albeit FileVine is obviously not necessarily CRM, it's more of a case management system. Now, the last section that we have over here is the ROI tracker. Again, we can choose the date range, and after that, it will show you just a breakdown of number of new leads, new clients, revenue, and spend, also then broken down by campaigns. Quite similar to what you see over here in the stats by source in the analytics section. And then one last feature that we have in terms of analytics available in Lawmatics is actually custom dashboards. So these are visible once we go to essentially the home page of Lawmatics. In here, we can create new dashboards that ourselves or our staff members will be able to see. And if we edit it, we can add data panels from different records, so for example, matters over here, and then add a specific visualization, right? So for example, number of new leads at a glance, conversion rate, or actually using some of our custom reports that we have defined. So for example, PNCs this month. And with that, we'll also be able to filter it out by a specific data range, see how we want to display it, either as a value, bar chart, pie chart, or gauge, and also how we're going to see the value, either count, sum, or average. So let's add it over here and see how that looks like. Let's call it this month. And just like that, we have this number over here. We can rearrange it, these different panels, we can group them, and then we can also move them around. So just like that, we can have some more customization on what we are seeing once we actually land on Lawmatics to see our most important customized firm KPIs over here. Overall, I would then say that in terms of analytics and reporting, Lawmatics does provide you with the 80/20, probably most of the things that you'll need in terms of your KPIs as a small or medium-sized law firm. Does offer some customization, but really does fall short on some of those more advanced reporting in terms of joining data and formatting it as you see wish, compared to some other options on the market. So I would give it a 3.5 out of 5 in this case. Now, moving on to the next point of integrations and APIs. Here, I will talk first about the native integrations that Lawmatics has and you can enable essentially out of the box. Then we'll talk about the integration options with Zapier and Make automation platforms. And finally, access to the API and how robust that is. So first, talking about the native integrations that are available. So a few of the popular apps over here, obviously, connecting it to your Gmail and your Google Calendar, Microsoft Outlook, and again, the calendar, syncing files between Lawmatics and OneDrive, Zoom meetings, and iCal events for Apple devices. Now, what you can then do is you can connect Lawmatics to your case management system. Not too many options over here, but a few big names are in here: ClearManage, Smokeball, Rocket Matter, FileVine, and Practice Sponsor. Now, an important consideration to have over here is that I would first check exactly how robust is, let's say, that integration with the particular case management system. So for example, what I can tell you is, based on our experience, the clients that we've worked with, ClearManage integration, for example, is a bit more flexible than the one of Practice Sponsor. You can sync more custom fields and it just provides you a few more options, which Practice Sponsor wouldn't really. Now, for all of these, you can do pretty much a full sync of the matter to the specific case management system, including all the basic details. Custom fields, again, depends on the specific integration, all the notes that you had there, and then also all the files and form submissions that were generated in Lawmatics. Now, again, the best thing would be to actually see and test out, or for example, to read the help article for that specific integration, because again, there can be some small quirks. So for example, for ClearManage, it does allow you to sync all of the custom fields that you have on the matter correctly. However, it doesn't actually sync the billing type, i.e., for example, saying if it's hourly or flat fee matter, all the matters that are synced over this integration, the native integration, are created as hourly matters in ClearManage, no matter how they're tagged in Lawmatics. So again, something to test out, and potentially as well, like if one small thing is not working out, also not a huge deal, you can potentially complement it with a Zapier or Make automation, or just have a manual action created for a staff member to fix that small detail. After that, we also have a few integrations with lead generation and marketing for services such as, for example, Google Ads, SMB team, and CallRail to track the marketing sources of incoming leads. We also have reception chatbots and intake options over here. So, for example, integration with Smith AI, Lex Reception, and Lawmatics. A few integrations with billing, if you have enabled time and billing add-on on your account, with LawPay, Conflow Legal, and QuickBooks. And then also communication with RingCentral and Connect. And finally, decision vault integration, especially useful, obviously, for the estate plan and probate fields. You can sync those forms from Decision Vault to Lawmatics as well. So honestly, not a huge list of integrations. Again, all of them would have their own quirks, so you need to check out for your specific use case. Now, let's talk about Zapier and Make.com automation platforms. In terms of Zapier, Lawmatics has an official integration built out. It is fairly good. We have quite a few triggers over here, such as whenever a new matter is converted, when contacts or matters are created or updated. Also, we can trigger when a form is filled out or an appointment is created in Lawmatics. In terms of actions as well, quite a good suite of actions over here for creating records, updating records, and also finding them by email, name, phone, or some other field. In terms of Make.com, there isn't actually an official integration built out by Lawmatics, but my good colleague and automation friend, Danish Nurbush, actually built out a custom app that connects Lawmatics to Make.com, and it's also already fairly built out with a matter converter triggered and then quite a few actions over here. Plus, you can use a custom API call using this connection to pretty much achieve anything that the API allows you to via Make.com. If you want this completely free of charge, again, Dan is just doing it as out of a goodness of his heart. I will link the installation page to this Make.com app down below in the description. And finally, in terms of the Lawmatics API, some of these legal tech providers can be very strict with API access, which I don't really understand. And the good thing about Lawmatics is that it is fairly open with API access. You can pretty much just set up an app directly in the user interface. You don't even need to do a special request to their support team for API access and get access to it straight away. It is also fairly well built out, a lot of endpoints over here, a lot of things you can do, creating, updating folders, uploading files, obviously all the things that you would expect in terms of creating, updating matters, and many more options over here. If you're interested in that, just check out the API documentation and see if your particular use case would be possible with the API. So summing it up, I would say that a basic suite of native integrations is available. Again, the list is not particularly long, and some of those integrations, as honestly most of the time with all the other providers as well, will have its own quirks. Then Zapier, a fairly well built out Zapier integration, no official Make.com app, and finally a well built out and accessible API. Overall, I would say that this is 4 out of 5. Again, the only improvements that I would add here is more native integrations, and also an official Make.com app would be amazing. Now let's talk about pricing and how much Lawmatics will cost your firm. The Lawmatics has essentially two main tiers. It is Essential and Premium. Essential contains the basic features that you would expect: client intake, lead management, custom forms, task management, and has a lower limit on number of contacts and e-signatures and text messages that you can send out. While Premium does offer you unlimited automations, the extra features of marketing campaigns, ROI tracker, custom dashboards, event management, and also many more contacts and text messages. Now, apart from that, you can also add on top of that the time and billing component if you also plan to use Lawmatics as your case management system in addition to the CRM. Now, there isn't a public pricing for Lawmatics on the website, which is actually something I really don't like companies doing. I think, especially in the very fragmented legal tech space, transparency in pricing is appreciated so that people can really assess whether a solution falls outside of their pricing needs. So for that, Lawmatics will get a negative point right there. But what you can expect in general is anywhere from 70 to $100 depending on the tier that you choose per the user of the system, in addition to time and billing add-on that you need to purchase separately. I would say so then Lawmatics is not particularly very competitively priced. I would say then that Lawmatics falls somewhere in the middle in terms of pricing options. If we compare it to other competitors in the legal specific market, it does fall around that range of its competitors. If we compare it to some of the more generic CRM options on the market, such as, for example, Pipedrive or Zoho CRM, then it does really fall short in terms of pricing. Additionally, I don't really like, again, the fact that there is no transparent pricing page on the website and you need to get a specific demo to get a specific price for your firm. So in this case, Lawmatics gets its lowest rating, 3.5. At least if the pricing would be transparent, I would give it a 4. So it has come time for the final tally. In total, Lawmatics scores 43 points out of a possible 50 in this rating. Very respectable score. As you can see, it didn't score anything less than 3.5 on any of the categories, which means it is a very solid solution overall. On some of them even scored 5 out of 5. Yes, it does have a few drawbacks and a few shortcomings, but overall, I feel like Lawmatics in 2025 is the best CRM solution overall for small and mid-sized law firms. Yes, there are other non-legal specific solutions, such as, for example, let's say Airtable or Zoho CRM or HubSpot, that would be able to offer more automation and customization options than Lawmatics. However, a lot of times, those non-legal specific solutions don't have some of the basic features that you would expect and need in running your legal practice, such as conflict checking, running your time and billing, and also a client portal access. A lot of times you can still build those out on non-legal specific solutions, but that will require more investment, potentially hiring a developer or some third party that will be able to integrate those missing features into your tech stack. Again, overall, very happy with what Lawmatics has built so far. Looking forward what they're going to release this year. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. I'll be happy to help you out in the comments. I hope that you've gotten value out of this video and enjoyed watching it. If you do need help with understanding if Lawmatics is the right solution for your specific firm, for your specific use case, or you need help building out Lawmatics for your practice, please let us know at swans.co. We help law firms daily build out solutions in Lawmatics and all the other softwares that the legal market provides us. Again, we are not affiliated with Lawmatics at all, not getting paid for this, really just an honest opinion based on what we've seen working with this tool and other tools in the industry. Thank you very much.